Welcome back to Small Talk, and I'm George.
Hey, I'm Rex. Glad you guys are joining with us today.
And we're looking in Hebrews, 4th chapter. We started a couple of weeks ago. We're down in verse 6. Let me read that for you, down to verse 11. It still remains that some will enter that rest, and those who formerly had the good news preached to them did not go in because of their disobedience. Therefore, God again set a certain day, calling it today, when a long time later he spoke through David, as was said before, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own work, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will fall by following their example of disobedience.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot. There's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there. And
5 verses or so, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a couple of years of seminary, and I know you do too. And if you're not deliberate and slow, it can get pretty confusing.
Yeah.
Right here.
So, and there's several words in here that I think stand out to me.
Okay.
And so I'd love to kind of bring those out, and then you could kind of maybe talk about what your feeling is. So the last time that we met, we talked about the concept of rest.
Right.
All right. And so this carries over into where we're at today.
Yeah.
So obviously that's one of the big things is rest. But also with that, you have the concept about as he looks back to the verse that's quoted through David about not hardening your heart. And then coupled with that, I think as well, is this idea of disobedience when it said they were not obedient like they should have been. And then in the end there that you read in verse 11, it says, let's make sure that we can enter the rest so that we don't follow the example of being disobedient. So all of that is together, I think the rest, the hardening hearts, the obedience or lack thereof, all is kind of tied in to some degree, right?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. In fact, we've talked about it, and I still maintain that rest is more about our spiritual maturity and relationship with God than it is about ceasing physical work.
Right. Or actually like physically sleeping.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I believe that God directed the Israelites to cease from their physical labor so that they could concentrate on their spiritual nourishment and maturity and their relationship with God.
Yeah, their spiritual well-being almost. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're tracking the same way there. Now, you get into all that mystic stuff, seemingly.
Okay.
When it says today, but he wasn't talking about today.
Right.
He made today so that he could.
Yeah.
And so what do you come away from with that? Or if somebody said, what in the world is he talking about? What would you say?
I think it's, to me, to a degree, when he's saying today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. I think it's like another opportunity or another chance to listen or to be obedient, and so we all have, we may choose one thing one day, but when we get up the next day, when we have more opportunities to change, to reverse, or to go along the same path.
Right. I also think, and when you look at it and base on what the writer of Hebrews has already written, and the Holy Spirit has guided them to write, it seems to me that what he's saying is he's just reaffirming the idea that he's not talking about a physical day.
Yeah, not a 24-hour period.
Right. He's talking about, because he goes into all that about David long ago, you know, and so I think if we go into this and look for physical direction or answers, we're going to miss the biggest part, and that is our nurture, the nurture of our souls and the development of our spiritual maturity, to understand that the most important thing in our life is to refresh in our spiritual lives, so that we can, you know, after we've done battle all week, we take this moment to regroup and
to get ready again, right?
Yeah. So you think that's?
I think so.
That I'm tracking okay with that.
So in verse 8, Joshua is brought up. You know,
Right.
For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. So what in your estimation, what do you think that particular thing in referencing Joshua is talking about?
Well, so when Joshua brought them into the promised land, I think there were people of Israel then and people of Israel during the first century that thought that meant that they were there, that they were in the final destination, that that their rest from all of the travails of life, you know, were going to be fulfilled. And I think that's why he makes that point, to say there remains then a Sabbath day rest. You know, so he's telling them that it's not done yet.
Yeah.
It was not done yet. It was done. It was prepared. It was given to us through Jesus Christ. Well, you know what? We're out of time.
Out of time.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll have to come back and pick up. It'll be good. We'll pick up with verse 8 and 9 there next week. But we thank you for joining in.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We look forward to seeing you next time.
God bless.